I'm Jeff Fiedler. I'm the corps director of the Cavaliers, and it's my pleasure and privilege, actually, to represent the drum corps, the guys, the staff, the design team, and the volunteers to tell you a little bit more about what you're about to see, the World Championship Machine program presented by the Cavaliers in 2006. If you recall, we came out of the tunnel. That's when our show started, and our warm-up was part of the show. The machines were humming, as it were, and it moved right into the color guard moving into the pods, and our drum major Tommy Allen adapting what was basically been a traditional Cavalier salute into a machine or robotic type presentation. And here we are, we're about to go. The tubas are humming, and the first robot comes to life and is joined by more and more as they come to life and bring machine to life. This is pretty much our introduction. This is Genesis, first portion of our program. As the machine starts to go, the gears start to hum, they start to go around, interlock. Color guard starts coming out of the two pods on either side of the field in the center of the gears. Build into some very tight forms, restricted space. And I'd say this is our visual representation of what we call integration. Robots making their presence known. You hear the saw whistle in the background. Watch the color guard, watch for the detailing. Probably a more sequential activity this year in the drum corps and the color guard than you've seen in past years, just because of the nature of machinery. Some things start in one place and end up as another. There's an assembly line process throughout a lot of what goes on throughout the show. Watch a lot of the detailing. Again, I go back to the color guard and just show you so many different aspects of what they were doing robotically, but also with their features. Here's a great feature, very subtle, and yet it's in effect. The parallel toss, the catch on the flag, and they jump over the pole, all happening within 4 counts, and done so well that sometimes it didn't even get noticed. Here we're building into a big conveyor belt with the color guard integrated on the inside of that. So you can see the battery, the 72 brass, and the color guard. Integration again, just pushing it in really tight and taking it into a very small restricted space. Kind of like our introduction, and here we are. Hello. These are our robots. Kind of ominous ending. Here's a great, first time I saw this when we taught it back in the spring. We call this the interlude, and this was an experiment pretty much through May and June, just to how to really create something that's different, something that was extremely state-of-the-art, and whatever our next level was going to be. You can see as the form bends, and it depended on the night and the viewpoint, or your perspective, but there's almost a three-dimensional quality to it. And it's really a true blend of visual and sound. You can hear a lot of the sounds in here, the bending of the sheet metal, having to do with constructing or creating. And we go right into Wired. We called it Wired. It's actually Wynton Marsalis' piece from his ballet suite release. You can find that on Jazz at the Lincoln Center series. Watch in the high camera, go to that at some point. Watch the tuba circle as it gets pushed around, almost like a Pong game. And the circle reappears later. Commenting on the color guard here, if you get to the high camera again at some point, one of our assembly processes. The fun thing about Wired is just the humor that we were allowed to add into the show. And it's all subtle. I mean, it's just wherever you watch, there was something going on that was interesting and in some ways humorous. The baritones becoming robots and just acting that out through their feet. There are 8 different sections of color guard going on right now. 4 in each section. And now we have the record skip. Here it comes. That was a big hit with everybody, as you can tell from the applause. And that was something that we refined throughout the summer. Just a good gag. And the next piece, obviously, everybody identified as a mosh pit. Even our guys did, and obviously it's an assembly process. We're bringing people over one at a time, bringing the color guard over. Sets us up for an effect we do later on. The interaction with the pit and the piccolo trumpets. The color guard pretty much staying in their robotic motion, even into their body movement. Watch the detail of picking the horns up and putting them back down, the robotic manner. And there's your James Bond robotic move. A little dust off the shoulder. This is pretty incredible to watch at this speed. It's unbelievable to watch if you did fast forward. Just watch where people start and watch where people go as the lines slowly deteriorate. And again, it's a sequential process. Muted trumpets allow for a little bit different musical texture. I can't tell you when the guys have worked so hard and yet had so much fun doing this. And we allowed them a little bit of creative license on their own just to come up with different robotic poses and powering down and powering up. Here we go into our next piece, Premonition. Kind of ominous, dark presence. Color guard interaction working together. The robot presence. Had to work with the guard. Everybody had to work just to make sure that their presence was appropriate at the right time through Premonition. Look ominous, look dark, bring that to life. I can't say there's a love theme in the show, but this is pretty close to being ominous and the robot or the machine having some sense of emotion. Color guard coming out of the pods again. On the high cam, you'll see that the circle moves in and surrounds the guard members doing the body motion. The guard uniform, incredible design by Michael Cesario with obviously a lot of input from Andy Toth. It was just outrageous, and we kept it hidden as long as we could. I'm not sure if there was ever a color guard uniform that more perfectly matched the show that it was a part of. That moment just took so many people's breath away. Notice a little assembly line here as we present our spinning robot. And though we've stopped, there's still a heartbeat and there's still motion as we move into the machine age. Hear the typewriter? That's what's making that sound. Percussion feature. Notice the tilt and the slap, the metal slap that's on the snare drum. This is interesting. If you watch this from the top cam, it's two triangles that move within each other. This is another one of those moments where it's just perfectly designed. It's an integration of the visual and the music. It's just a perfect blend. A lot of things going on, a lot of things to watch. It's almost like whatever your flavor is, it's your choice. And roll the credits. Here Michael takes the frame apart, a little subconscious tribute to Frameworks. Taking the frame apart, putting them into pods of threes. It has always amazed me how our visual designer, Michael Gaines, gets everybody in the right spot for what he wants to make happen. Here he's moving us from a frame into threes, into files and angles to get us into this form. The guys call this the spinning wheel of death. And as you see, as the music gives a feel of acceleration, more and more members come off on the inside and roll to the outside. Another little subtlety that maybe most people might not have noticed, and yet it was right there in front of you on a big football field. There's a box, and there are people snaking through the box. Everybody who was in the snake now makes their own box, and everybody who was in the box now becomes the form that is much more fluid. You hear some of the musical themes from past pieces in the show. Just a little bit of a recap there. And here is an ending that we used the last 2 weeks of the season. Kind of harkens back to the interlude we talked about earlier. And the guys, once they saw what we were doing and once they got a feel for it, kind of said that this looked like an upside-down volcano with the lava coming forward. Pretty much reaching the climax of the show here. Back to a frame. Fill it with the color guard. Fill it with the robots. And here you'll see spinning, a little reminiscent of Spin Cycle. So the Cavaliers, what are they going to do for their ending? Well, what we came up with was something that was visual, as people would expect, but doing something that maybe no one expected, and that was to bring a snare drummer over the top at the end. We want to thank our creative, emotional, and technical minds. That would be Scott Coder, Richard Saucedo, Mike Gaines, Andy Toth, and our new guy on the block this year, Jim Casella, as well as Sly Sobilski, Bruno Zuccala, David Bertman, and Jim Ancona, and their technical staffs, the guys, and our volunteers for bringing Machine to life.